and all our departmental committee members and their chairs for the hard work that they put in again during the recess. And as I mentioned in the morning, to be able to consider both the supplementary estimates and the annual estimates, not to mention that some of them were also part and parcel of the mediation team that was considering the amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill and the other issues that they had, Honorable Speaker. And I take this opportunity to thank them. Honorable Speaker, these budgets that we are considering for the financial year 24-25 comes at a very critical moment for us in this country. In the backdrop, Honorable Speaker, of very dilapidating floods that have occasioned the almost 8.9 billion shillings that we were discussing this morning that is going towards emergency measures to address the challenge of floods. But also, Honorable Speaker, at a time that those who are forecasting the weather are telling us that for the next 7 years we may have unusual rainfall in the country. And members in the country bears witness that across the entire country, floods have in a big way affected our agricultural production this year. And it is likely, Honorable Speaker, that in the coming year we may have challenges where a lot of farmland has been washed away by floods, a lot of food that had been planted has also gone to waste courtesy of the floods, Honorable Speaker, and therefore need to devote more resources, as we are seeing in the Ministry of Agriculture, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that, one, we are able to mitigate the losses that may be occasioned by the flooding, Honorable Speaker. Two, Honorable Speaker, is an issue that we have always spoken about of, Honorable Speaker, the issue of our fiscal deficit vis-a-vis the need to borrow. And you see, Honorable Speaker, in the next financial year, from estimated revenues of almost 3.2305 billion or 3.2 trillion, which is about 17.9% of our GDP, and this revenue is, Honorable Speaker, almost 2.7 trillion, close to 2.8 trillion, which is 15.5% of our GDP in the financial 24-25, is projected to come from our ordinary revenues, Honorable Speaker. And ordinary revenues, Honorable Speaker, is what we normally raise from our taxes. And I know, Honorable Speaker, as we consider this budget or these appropriations, the appropriation of our expenditure estimates, Honorable Speaker, we must bear in mind that this budget must be financed. And the financing of this budget is what we will do with the finance bill, which again is before the finance committee, undergoing public participation and stakeholder engagement. And therefore, even as we support all the expenditures, Honorable Speaker, including those that are going to CDF, including those that are going to ensure that we hire on permanent and pensionable terms our JSS teachers, Honorable Speaker, expenditure that will ensure that our neighborhoods are secure, even on issues touching on the completion of roads that had stalled, we must always bear in mind that all these things call for resources, and those resources will be raised through the revenue-raising measures that the CS will be speaking to next week on Thursday. But more importantly, what we shall pass in this House when the finance bill comes, Honorable Speaker. Because, Honorable Speaker, often we are very happy to pass our budget estimates as they are. But a week later, we forget that we are the ones who passed the budget estimates and the appropriated resources. And those resources that we appropriated must be raised from somewhere, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I'm just saying that so that to prepare ourselves, that next week or the week after, as we consider, or rather the week after, I presume, Honorable Speaker, since I don't want to anticipate debate, as we consider the finance bill, we must bear in mind that that finance bill is coming to finance the expenditures that we are speaking to here, Honorable Speaker. Two, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of our fiscal deficit that I spoke to. And I am glad, Honorable Speaker, that the National Treasury, for the first time, they are keeping their word. They did indicate to us when we started the bottom-up economic transformation agenda 2 years ago that every financial year they will seek to bring down our fiscal deficit to ensure that we do not continue putting our country or our good motherland into unnecessary debt. Honorable Speaker, you will see that the fiscal deficit projected in the coming year of 24-25 is projected a figure of 638.4 billion, which is 3.5% of our GDP, compared to the projected fiscal deficit of 886 billion, or 5.5% of our GDP in this current financial year of 23-24. Honorable Speaker, that is close to 250 billion shillings being cut out of our fiscal deficit, Honorable Speaker, or rather money, 250 billion shillings that may have been borrowed this year that shall not be borrowed next year. That, Honorable Speaker, is not by accident. It is out of a deliberate plan, deliberate by government as promised by President William Ruto, that we shall be deliberate not to overborrow. We shall also be deliberate and sensitive to Kenyans as taxpayers as we seek to raise revenue from them as taxpayers through the finance bill. And I want to assure Kenyans, because I have seen a lot of misreporting, Honorable Speaker. I did see last night our chair of finance, a very diligent and responsible leader, the Honorable Member for Molo, Honorable MP Kimani, articulate the issue of how keenly the Finance Committee is considering all the proposals that are coming to the Finance Committee. And he mentioned that part of the stakeholders that have appeared before the committee are manufacturers who have raised issues with the certainty with which our tax policies are and how we must be careful not to load taxes in our manufacturing sector that may end up driving away manufacturers from our country to go and produce in Uganda or Tanzania. And with the East African community customs, Honorable Speaker, then whatever is produced in Uganda or Tanzania can find its way into our economy. But what that would mean, Honorable Speaker, is that Kenyans who are employed in the manufacturing sector will lose their jobs. And I have seen, Honorable Speaker, because people are keen on driving a negative narrative, they are now cutting part of that clip of what the member for Molo said and now pushing it on social media to say that the member of Molo, who is our chair of the Finance Committee, has said that there is no problem for manufacturers to move away to Uganda. And I must say, shame on all those who seek to send negative narratives, either on social media or on mainstream media, Honorable Speaker, and more so taking away what is said in good faith. Because the member for Molo and our chair of the Finance Committee was saying what he was saying in good faith, as the chair of the Finance Committee, assuring the Kenyan people that they are responsible leaders, responsible enough to be responsive to the issues that are being brought to them, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, maybe just to digress a bit, that is why I was taking offense with what the member for Yatta was saying, and thank you, Honorable Speaker, for having ruled that that tender document he wanted to table was not a document worth the paper it's typed on. And just to confirm that that tender document, Honorable Speaker, is indeed true, that tender was even cancelled. And also to educate the member for Yatta that Kiambu County, the largest beneficiary of Kura funds, is actually Thika Town constituency that has over 1 billion shillings because of the expansive nature of that constituency and being a town constituency. Kikuyu constituency has a very minute, although, Honorable Speaker, it doesn't sound very bad to the people of Kikuyu when they are saying that they are benefiting more. And I thought maybe the member for Yatta should be coming to me and asking me, how is it that I can get more resources going to the people of Yatta? But it's also important, Honorable Speaker, because you can see the numbers that we are in the House this evening and this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, for all of us as members of Parliament to take more seriously the budget-making process. It is not true that even the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee can appropriate resources to his constituency, or indeed the Honorable Esuda, who has sat in the Budget Committee, can be able to appropriate resources to her constituency at the expense of Yatta constituency, Honorable Speaker. It is not true, because it is this House, as a House, that considers the documents of budget estimates that we table here at the end of April. Every member of parliament, whether you represent the people of Yatta or the people of Kikuyu or the people of Samburu East, every member has access to these documents. It is your responsibility as a member of parliament to go through these documents with a tooth comb and to check whether the people you represent are represented in those documents. When you fail to do your work as a member of parliament, then you start pointing fingers at other people, Honorable Speaker. Then you only have yourself to blame. Honorable Speaker, let me say in conclusion that what we did promise, Honorable Speaker, that we will continuously reduce our fiscal deficit is indeed being reflected in these estimates. But for that to be actualized, Honorable Speaker, I will repeat what I said this morning during the debate on the supplementary budget. That will only happen and can only happen if and only if we achieve the revenue targets that we have set in these documents, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, if the Kenya Revenue Authority has agreed with the National Treasury that our ordinary revenue will rise to close to 2.8 trillion, whatever measures the KRA will institute to make sure that we collect as many taxes as we're able to collect, or rather as much revenue as we're able to collect, Honorable Speaker, not as many taxes, because the multiplicity of taxes doesn't necessarily reflect better revenues, Honorable Speaker, but they must leverage on technology. The eating system, Honorable Speaker, being rolled out is something that KRA must go out to educate Kenyans on the need for automation and the need to move to a digital economy, Honorable Speaker. Countries and economies much smaller than ours, like Rwanda, are already on these workable systems, and they are leveraging on technology to be able to collect more revenues, Honorable Speaker. And we have seen it through the centralization of our A through the e-citizen platform, Honorable Speaker. I was saying this morning that we saw instances where an MDA that was reporting a mere 9 million shillings in A in a year is now collecting close to 40 million shillings in a month. That tells you the power of technology and leveraging on technology to ensure that there is accountability and transparency in the collection of all the revenues that are bound to be collected by government for provision of services, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to trust that we shall be able to achieve these targets in our revenue estimates so that our budget deficit remains where it is. So that as the President committed, and I listened to him keenly on Madaraka Day, that it is his prayer and his wish that in a short 3 to 5 years, can't remember whether it was 3 or 5 years, Honorable Speaker, that within his term as President, we shall see a balanced budget. This reduction in our fiscal deficit is a road towards that balanced budget. And I want to encourage the National Treasury to work hard and support the President and our Budget and Appropriations Committee and this House as we budget to ensure that we have a balanced budget within another 3 to 5 years, Honorable Speaker, so that we do not continue overburdening the Kenyan taxpayer with resources that we are raising from them and utilizing those resources to pay debt, but utilizing the resources that we collect from our revenues and from taxes to offer services to the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, finally, let me speak to our JSS teachers. I know these JSS teachers have really harassed members of parliament. And I know they formed a WhatsApp group where they all agreed to harass members of parliament to appropriate resources. And we told some of them, be patient. Now that resources are being appropriated in the next financial year, Honorable Speaker, to hire them, we want to plead with them. The teaching profession is a high calling. So high a calling that it is you who are training our future, that future that we have vested in our children. Please, I know we all need resources for our own personal development, but I want to plead with them. As you serve as an intern, give it your very best. Give it your best in service so that even as TSC reviews those that they will put on permanent and pensionable terms, they put those who have passion for the job, those who have offered themselves to the high calling of the teaching profession. Because, Honorable Speaker, I have also seen a few of them who have no calling and have put resources ahead of that greater calling of nurturing young ones, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to plead with them that now that resources are being appropriated, please rise up to the higher calling of nurturing, educating our young ones, and securing the future of our great republic through better leaders, probably even much better than us, and better professionals, better than us, Honorable Speaker, because that is what we pray for, that is what we desire for our young ones and the children of Kenya.
The Honorable Lesuda, Elachi, and the Honorable Kaluma. After that.